Welcome in, everybody. Episode number 1 of the 300 Section Sports Podcast. I am your host, Grady, and I am here with my two co-hosts, Colin and Casey, aka the famous Rams All-Time. Welcome in, guys. How you doing?
I'm doing great today.
We're so up right now. You're gonna know. You're gonna know, world.
I've heard that we are so up. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a quick introduction, given this is our first episode, hopefully of many. So as I mentioned before, my name is Grady. I'm a huge hockey fan. My favorite sports team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's not particularly close. So Colin, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you.
My name is Colin. Huge baseball fan. I played baseball my whole life, so sticking with the hometown theme. Super big Rays fan, but I rep all the teams in Tampa and Orlando. But the Rays are number one in my heart.
Casey?
Hey y'all, my name is Casey. As you can see, I'm a big Rams fan, but I'm a big fan of all the LA teams, so go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. All right. So that is a great introduction. A little bit about our podcast that we are starting. We're going to be covering all 4 of the major sports leagues in the United States, that being the NFL, MLB, NHL, and NBA. Our goal is to have once weekly episodes. Obviously, you can find us here on YouTube at 300 Section Sports Podcast, and it will be the same on Instagram. And yeah, really excited to get into this with you guys. I think it's going to be really, really fun. All right, so getting into the big NFL news of today to discuss, there were 2 bombshell trades in the NFL. We're going to start one that features a defensive superstar. Adam Schefter of ESPN reports that defensive end Myles Garrett will be acquired by the Los Angeles Rams from the Cleveland Browns in exchange for defensive end Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third-round pick. So I wanted to go ahead and jump to Colin first and get his thoughts on the Rams side of this trade. How do you think this affects them going forward?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's point blank. They got Myles Garrett. There's a million different things to say about it, but at the end of the day, any trade in which you're walking away with Myles Garrett, I think you're happy with. He's got 2 defensive player of the years. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head, but Jared Verse, good player. He's not Myles Garrett. I know there's a lot of concerns. They gave up a lot. They're paying Myles Garrett a lot of money. Myles Garrett, I don't care. I think that's all there is to say. I think if you were to ask Casey, which, we're going to roll right into Casey, I think he would say the same thing as a fan. I'm terrified to have to play this guy in the NFC now. And if I were in Casey's position, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Myles Garrett is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner in 2023 and 2025. So, yeah, you're correct.
Exactly, yeah. So, it's a can't-miss kind of player. You're not going to get that with your first-round pick. And if you do, he's not going to be as good as he is right now while you have Matthew Stafford. So,
yeah, I agree. Casey, what are your thoughts here? Anything different along the same lines?
Well, I was going to say I really like Colin's take on it, but on my Instagram, RamsAllTime, I usually make these Rams Rough Take reviews, and I started typing up about some trades like the Myles Garrett trade, and at first, I really didn't like the trade. I thought we gave up too much, like Colin said. Like, we're going to take up his cap. Like, we're not going to be able to pay guys like Puka Nacua or Kobe Turner and even Byron Young for the future. But if we're looking at wins now, like a win now mentality, I think this is like the best move we can make. Like, just like you said, like Jared Verse was like a really good player, but Myles Garrett is like all the way at the top of the hill.
Here's my main question for you. If you're thinking about all your negative concerns, When you look at him in that jersey right there in front of you, surely they just go away. You're not worried about it.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I make these Rams rough takes, and just a little like inside of the next one. Rams are going 17-0.
Oh,
Jesus.
okay.
That's a stretch. And you know what? As much as I want to say that's ridiculous, I think the Rams might be set up as the best team in the NFL to do that right now. They have a quarterback coming off an MVP season. You have a defensive end who's coming off a Defensive Player of the Year season. You have 2 elite receivers. The rest of the defense looks very, very solid, and I think they can do, they can compete with just about anyone in the NFL right now. And if there's anyone who could go 17-0, or rather, if I were to make a power ranking right now, I don't think it'd be particularly close. I would be putting the Rams at number 1.
All that to lose to Baker Mayfield, but it is what it is.
Well, 17-0, they have to lose to someone at some point.
16-1, they lose to Baker Mayfield in Raymond James.
2016 Panthers type beat.
3 touchdowns.
All right, so that is the Rams side of this deal. Let's go ahead and talk about the Browns real quick, because I think everyone immediately wants to jump into the Rams and how does this affect them. They're immediate Super Bowl favorites. But I think what the Browns have done here is potentially a very smart move. They're not a contending team right now. They're retooling with Jared Verse. They gained the draft capital. So, Colin, let me go send it over to you. What do you think here from the Browns' perspective? Why does this work? Why might it not work?
So I genuinely wrote down a lot of the same stuff that you did. The Browns, they're not going to win right now. Regardless, we saw it. We saw Myles Garrett just break the sack record, and what did the Browns do? Nothing. They didn't make the playoffs. Do I think Shedeur is the quarterback of the future? No. Do I think Dylan Gabriel is the quarterback of the future? No. Do I think Deshaun Watson's going to come back? No. So what are they going to do? Their offense, inept. Their defense, good, but really carried by Myles Garrett. I think you get younger. Obviously, he's not Myles Garrett, but with Verse, you get younger. He's on his rookie deal. You push back the need to make a decision at quarterback because your team just got even worse. So what? You fall a little bit in the draft. Maybe you find a better quarterback for you next year. I think at the end of the day, I'm never going to look at this trade and say the Browns did great because they lost Myles Garrett. And that sucks. But if you have to get something back, I think they did about as good as they were going to do.
Here's a perspective that I was considering about it, and I want to send this question over to Casey. Last offseason, we saw the Dallas Cowboys trade away Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers in exchange for 2 first-round picks and a defensive tackle. Who was it?
Oh, it was Quinnen Williams?
Kenny Clark. It was Kenny Clark.
Oh, my God.
Clark,
Quinnen
yeah.
Williams.
2 first-round picks. And, yeah, they also got Quinnen Williams from the Jets, but that's a different trade. 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. If you are the Browns and you see that deal, considering the fact that you're nowhere near the state that the Cowboys are in right now, are you happy with the return that you got for Myles Garrett?
Yeah, I think I'm very happy about the trade and what we got from Myles Garrett. Like what Colin was talking about, how we got a young defender in Jared Verse. And honestly, like a lot of people give hate on the Browns, but I think I'm like one of the few people that aren't Browns fans that still have high hope for them. I think they have a really young group. I think they did great in the draft. Adding Jared Verse, like I said, like with this defense that I really think could be like top 10 next year, and getting two first-round draft picks next year. So I think the potential is very high for them. Like I think they're going to be a playoff team in like a year or two.
I think there's mitigating factors with the Parsons trade that aren't here. One, the Packers got to decide the deal they were going to sign Parsons to. The Rams don't have that luxury. They're paying a premium price for Garrett because the Browns made him the highest paid player, non-quarterback in NFL history. So you're not getting to sign that contract. And I think Verse is probably a better asset right now than Kenny Clark is, realistically.
Yes,
So
I think that's probably very true, and I just think considering the context of the fact that the Browns probably aren't going to be particularly good next season, especially in a division with the Bengals and the Ravens, they're probably looking at a high first-round draft pick, their own first-round draft pick, and in a quarterback-heavy draft class, whether it's Arch Manning or Dante Moore, or Lenore Sellers, whoever is the top or one of the top quarterbacks in the class, you can pretty much guarantee one of them can be wearing the Cleveland Browns jersey come next fall. So.
And let's say the Rams win the Super Bowl. Best case scenario for the Rams, worst case scenario for the Browns. They're picking 30th in the draft, and they're walking away with potentially a tackle. You're still getting a good tackle at that point in the draft. So you're walking away with either a really talented receiver or a really talented tackle to help out Arch Manning or Dante Moore. You weren't going to have that opportunity with Myles Garrett.
It's true. It's very true. Any other thoughts before I move on to one final question for this trade?
No, I got nothing.
All right, wonderful. So before we move on, I want to ask everyone who they think won this trade. So Casey, I'll start with you. Who's your winner ultimately in this trade?
I think the Rams won the trade on this one.
Colin?
I want to be controversial. I want to say the Browns. I gave you a million good reasons it was the Browns. It's the Rams. They got Myles Garrett. Like, there's nothing to say.
They're the Super Bowl favorites now. It's 100% the Rams. They won this trade, even if the Browns got a good return. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the second blockbuster trade of this first day of June. Mike Garafolo for NFL Network reports that wide receiver A.J. Brown will be acquired by the New England Patriots from the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. So, Colin, that leads me into my question for you. What went wrong in Philadelphia that led us to this moment, specifically from being Super Bowl 59 champions to losing your alpha Pro Bowl receiver? What could have possibly happened in one season that led to this moment?
It's ego. It's what we've seen all season. It's ego. A.J. Brown said it best when they won the Super Bowl. What's the first thing he had to say? I don't care about winning Super Bowls. I care about getting back out there and catching the football. Jalen Hurts could not make that happen for him. He was clearly unhappy. Their offense was most efficient when they ran the ball and didn't try to force the ball downfield. I think I think they lost more than half of their games in which he had 10-plus targets. I mean, it was something ridiculous like that throughout the year. I remember any game when he had 10 targets, they ended up losing. So you have a receiver who's being vocally begging for the ball, calling out his teammates for not throwing the ball, and then they do it and lose. So I don't know if it's Sirianni can't control the locker room or the offensive play calling system switched up when Kellen Moore left and they got the new offensive coordinator in. I don't know what it is, but clearly heads were clashing there and he needed to go.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear there was, some sort of discourse in the locker room, undeniably. And yeah, that kind of led us here. I think it was pretty well known that A.J. Brown was going to be dealt at this June 1st cap, designation date.
Shout out Diana Rossini for that.
Shout out.
Thanks for letting us know.
Speaking of that and the Patriots, Casey, I want to throw over to you. What do you think this means for the Patriots in 2026? Can they find themselves back in the Super Bowl?
I really don't think they'll bounce back from a Super Bowl loss, and to go even further, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I'm just a big A.J. Brown hater, and the way he carries himself, or lack of carrying himself, like on and off the field, like he's been digressing in the amount of yards he's gotten while increasing the amount of his drop percentage. And with a less experienced QB in Drake May, I just don't think he'll be his, I guess I'll say, his 2022 self where he went for almost 1,500 yards. Like, I don't think he'll get another 1,000-yard season.
So my immediate question for you here is going to be, you said that you don't think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs in 2026, considering they're coming off a Super Bowl appearance in a division where they just beat the Buffalo Bills, who very arguably could have the best quarterback in the NFL in Josh Allen. What leads you specifically, besides having a disdain for A.J. Brown, to believe that the New England Patriots won't make the playoffs? Because I think it's rather ridiculous to say that Drake May doesn't have experience now. He's won the AFC. He's played in the Super Bowl. I can name a few quarterbacks who are highly regarded in the AFC that haven't even done that.
That's fair. Yeah, but I mean, let's go back to the Rams 2021 NFL championship. And what happened to them the next year? Injuries hurt them, went down to what? The lowest record a Super Bowl winning team got to in like so. And personally, I think the Patriots schedule was one of the easiest, and just the teams that didn't make the playoffs last year had a few injury issues, but I think they fixed it up. A couple of them added new players like Trey Hendrickson on the Ravens, and I think they're a contender to make the playoffs. But there's just a lot of factors that I think that makes the Patriots not be able to make the Super Bowl or playoffs.
If I can jump in, I
ahead, yeah.
I want to say that I would not be shocked if the Patriots missed the playoffs, but I wrote down my thoughts on this topic, and I wrote down almost the exact opposite of what Casey did.
Yeah, you go ahead and give me your thoughts, because I think I disagree with Casey here, to be honest.
Here's what I'll read you exactly what I wrote down, because I think it's so interesting how diametrically opposed it is. They're all in on winning on May's rookie contract, which, as crazy as people said they were last year, spending the cap, he's on the lowest amount of money he's ever going to be on. They went all in last year. People said, whatever, who cares? The Patriots are spending all this money. They went to the Super Bowl. Now, the Patriots have showed that they are not letting up on this. They're doubling down on the Drake May that they saw last year, and they're going for it. I don't think we can fault them for that. Even if we feel one way or the other about A.J. Brown, we're talking about a team that made the Super Bowl, continuing to add assets while their quarterback is on a rookie deal. And also, what if we're thinking back to the team that got to the Super Bowl last year, I look at that offense, I think of Drake May, he was great. The rest of the offense was really, really bad. It was so bad. So as bad as A.J. Brown could possibly be, I can't blame them for throwing darts at the board and hoping one of them hits. And also, I think it's important to remember the defense is phenomenal. The defense was so good last year. It's what brought them here, and I think it's what's going to continue to keep them going. But I will say, in Casey's defense, the schedule last year was really easy, and by making the Super Bowl, they've given themselves one of the hardest schedules in the league, probably. So I worry, but I think this move signals more of a double down on success as opposed to a regression.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw the worst version or not the worst version, but one of the weaker versions of the Drake May New England Patriots that we'll see probably for the next 5 to 10 years or so. And just considering that in the offseason, they didn't lose any major assets and only, created a better roster, I don't see any reason to believe that the Patriots won't, at a minimum, make the playoffs in 2026.
Okay, here's my question for both of you right now, because I think if I had to sit down, and we all three said it really, if I had to think about who I thought was going to be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl right now, June 1st,
the AFC or the NFC?
The NFC. I would say the Rams. Okay. I think we all would.
Right. Yes, we would.
The AFC, who would you guys see representing the AFC right now, this far out? It's not anything concrete. You haven't seen the full roster, but just right now, based on just what we're looking at.
I'm really in on the Baltimore Ravens this season. I think, last season went about as poorly as that roster could do. And considering that there wasn't a ton of turnover besides the loss of Isaiah Likely, I think that the Ravens are poised to make a playoff comeback and potentially a Super Bowl run.
Casey?
I think the Broncos will make the Super Bowl only because of the addition of Jalen Waddle. They were a change, one game close to making the Super Bowl because Bo Nix got hurt. And yeah, the defense stayed strong. I don't think they lost anyone that I think of.
Not anyone of
note. They might even bring Von Miller back.
Yeah,
I'd say minimum top 2 defense. Yeah, they're facing the Rams.
I don't think that's crazy, but I mean, if we're talking about a Patriots team that, whatever the circumstances may be, just beat the Broncos, they are adding Jalen Waddle, they're adding AJ Brown. Not a lot is changing. I don't think it's crazy to say the Patriots could be in that conversation more likely than missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be a season that's going to be very interesting in the AFC. I think it's going to be quite the juggernaut of teams fighting, especially at the end of the season, to make the playoffs. But anyways, those are the 2 big NFL news stories of today. We're going to move on now to the NBA, where we will see the San Antonio Spurs host the New York Knicks for Game 1 of the NBA Finals Wednesday night, June the 3rd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. For the Spurs, it is their first NBA Finals appearance since 2014 when they beat the Miami Heat in 5 games, with Kawhi Leonard earning Finals MVP. And the Knicks' last time in the NBA Finals was 1999 when they lost in 5 to the San Antonio Spurs. Their last NBA championship came in 1973 when they beat the Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games, with Willis Reed earning the Finals MVP award. So it has been over 50 years since they have won a title. We're going to kick it off with the Spurs discussion here. So my question for Colin is, what would a title this early in the young career of Victor Wembanyama do for his legacy? And how far along on the greatness trajectory would he already be if he could capture a title at just 22 years old?
I'm really excited for this one, but first I'm going to completely sidetrack, and you're not going to like this, but I'm pretty sure 1973 Willis Reed broke his leg in the finals, came back in Game 7, and won Finals MVP. So someone might need to fact check me on that, but that guy is moving different, all right? That's all I'm going to say.
I believe you. I believe you. That's insane.
So here's what I wrote down for Victor Wembanyama winning a finals at 22. Is he going to? I don't know. But even making it is very impressive. Age 22 season. He's made the finals. What I wrote down is just simply GOAT trajectory. I think that he could be on the path to be the greatest NBA player of all time. And I'm talking about that at 22, which feels absurd. Even though the talent's clearly there, I was always worried about the health kind of. He's built really lanky, but he's taken a lot of beatings this playoffs. I think it's impressive. I also said parallels to Tim Duncan, who I think is a top 3, if he's a top 5 player in my book, at least. That's a debate for another day if you guys disagree, but he's up there. Anyone would say he's up there, but this is what I thought was crazy. This is what I wanted to write down. That hammers home my point. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. At the age of 22, Victor Wembanyama right now, playing in the finals 4 games away from winning his first championship. LeBron James made his first finals also in his age 22 season. He averaged 25, 8, and 8. Jordan was swept in the first round in his age 22 season. I'll give him the benefit of he only played 18 games that year from injury, came back in the playoffs. He scored 43 points a game, 6 rebounds and 6 assists. And Kareem lost in the Eastern Conference Finals at the same time, 35, 16, and 4. I wrote them down because those are 3 top players for me right now. Wemby is in the finals at the age of 22. Only LeBron had done that. And he's doing it on 25, 10, 3 assists, and 3.5 blocks. That's absurd. That's insane. He could be the greatest player of all time. He's going to win his first – if he wins his first title at 22, we're talking about a guy who would have 20 more years to his career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of what I was hinting at when I said, greatness trajectory. Those guys like LeBron and Jordan and Kareem, and whether it's fair or not to compare someone so young to those, legends of the game. I think it's where most people are going.
It's not fair to him, but
it's not fair to him. But I think
done,
that's what people
I
are
will
going
be
to
pushing that agenda.
Yes, I think I think 100% if he wins this finals, it's already gonna be talked about. Okay, well, what's he gonna do next? What's he gonna do next? He's gonna continue to move forward and he's gonna continue to improve his game. Will he end up being in the GOAT conversation one day? And I think most people will argue, yes, even now, just given the pure raw talent that he has, he's only going to improve. So Casey, I want to kick it over to you. Do you think that it will be any different, or do you agree with us on a potential ring, legacy for Wembanyama here?
The way you guys were talking, it seemed like he was going to get to like that GOAT like height like pretty quickly, but I think it's just the team was built around him. Like they were getting like players like these like past seasons, and basketball isn't a one-person sport. I know Wemby was doing phenomenal in the finals, but you got to give it up to people like De'Aaron Fox and Castle, who just round out the whole team. But I think he will get to that GOAT level, but just not as quickly as you guys might see it as.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, there's a little bit of a jumping the gun to this question, but it is pretty remarkable what he's doing at this age. But speaking outside of Wembanyama for the Spurs, I do want to kick off a conversation other than Wemby. Who could win Finals MVP for the Spurs this season? Casey, who do you think might be able to do it if it's not Wembanyama?
Yeah, so I'm not really familiar with basketball as much as you two, but I am going to be repping my half Filipino in Dylan Harper to win the MVP. So let's go Harper.
Hey, the Harpers know how to win titles. All right, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, that is true. So, Colin, who do you think is, the next best to Wemby in this finals for the Spurs?
I think it's the guy who was always meant to be the Victor Wembanyama running mate. It's De'Aaron Fox. A lot of other names coming up, but De'Aaron Fox, he's coming off of injury. He's finally getting healthy at the perfect time. If you're the Spurs, you made it here. Sorry, he's finally back healthy. Game 7, I think it's his second game back from not playing for 2 games. He scores 15 on 6 of 12 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. That's him warming back up. That's against, I think, the most talented team in the league. Many see as the best defensive team in the league. I would love to see what he could do with Brunson guarding him as opposed to Lou Dort.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Fox could certainly be a contender for that. I'm going to move in a little bit different direction, also stick with the guard, though. I think the young Stephon Castle could possibly take over the series should Wemby not step up. I think his raw playmaking ability can absolutely energize a team and take over a series if he's given the opportunity. And I think if, you got to go away from Wemby, I'm impartial to Stephon Castle in this series.
I like Stephon Castle, great defender. My only worry about him is his Western Conference Finals triple-double. However many points, 10 assists, 10 turnovers. You can't have that in the finals.
That's very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on over to the Knicks side of this discussion. Before we do, though, I want to revisit, Colin, your point about the Willis Reed broken leg in 1973. Turns out it was in the 1970 NBA Finals to secure their first championship. Also over the Los Angeles Lakers. He did not break his leg, but he did have a severely torn thigh muscle that he tore in Game 6, had to leave the game, was doubtful for Game 7, ended up playing, and they blew the Lakers out to secure their first NBA championship. So still,
shout out Willis Reed. That's the takeaway.
Yeah, shout out Willis Reed. We did not know how he was moving back in the 70s. It's unbelievable. Anyways, for the Knicks, we already mentioned their first NBA Finals appearance since 1999. Also, when they played against the Spurs, they lost in 5. So I'm going to go ahead and kick a question over to Colin to begin. With a ring, assuming that the Knicks win the NBA Finals, where would Jalen Brunson rank all time amongst New York Knicks?
Second. I mean, I know everyone's going to want to say first. He's the king of New York. He's hot right now. But it's Ewing, right?
Mhm.
And did Ewing ever win the finals? No, but he brought them to the finals against the Spurs. He brought them time and time again against Michael Jordan. And am I going to hold against Ewing that he had to play against Michael Jordan in the East? No. And he stuck with the Knicks. He's the Knicks' all-time leader in points, rebounds, blocks. That's a lot of big stuff. Now, if you want to tell me Brunson wins the championship now and 10 years from now, he's stuck with the Knicks and he's their all-time leader in points, assists, etc., we can revisit that conversation. I'd be willing to say it's Brunson. But if he won a ring and retired, no, it's Ewing. But it would do numbers for him. And the city might need NYPD, NYFD out there immediately. It's going to look like PSG burning down Paris. It's going to be worse. It's going to be worse than Paris.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I've thought about this for a little bit. I've tussled with him being automatically the greatest ever in second, but I do think it is second. I think he'll need a few more years in New York to really cement that greatest Knick of all time title. But I think, the debate would certainly be there, just given a ring. Casey, I want to ask you a question just about, some more current basketball. Do you have a point about this you want to make?
I have a different take on it because if we're talking about winning, like the question was if he wins and gets a ring, if he's going to be the all-time Knicks player. And I think he is. Like, you're talking about how he couldn't win against Michael Jordan, but we're talking about how Victor's getting to that goal, like, tier level. Like, if he's going to be able to beat Victor Wembanyama with Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox, with players that are, what's the word? Like, I don't want to be rude and be like, oh, they're worse, but like,
you could say that there's players that are better and worse than others. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, the Spurs are way better than the Knicks. And
I'm sorry, I think that's patently false.
We're gonna get into that.
That's patently false.
End up winning against the Spurs, I think he's there.
One thing I do want to say, unrelated, sorry. Imagine how much it must suck right now to be Carmelo Anthony. You thought you were the guy in Denver? No, that's Jokic. You thought you were the guy in New York? No, that's Brunson. Sorry you even played NBA, bro. Get out.
Yeah, I do think, final thing I want to say, you compared Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle to, you didn't say them specifically, but you did say Michael Jordan, and, I always group in Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. I think that's an entirely different echelon of players. But
but
I digress.
we were comparing it.
Oh, yeah. Brunson's playing against Wemby, Castle, and Fox. Who did Ewing have to play against? Oh, David Robinson and Tim Duncan?
Darn. All right. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on to my my next question here for Casey. A little bit more about this finals in particular. What is the bigger X factor matchup? Is it Cat versus Wemby in the paint, or Brunson versus Fox on the perimeter?
I think it's Brunson versus Fox. In short, I think Wemby's going to outbeat Cat. What, Carl Anthony Towns? Is that his name?
That's his name.
Yeah, he's not really heard of him. What, has he won one? No. Like, Victor's closer to.
Dude, you don't know who Carl Anthony Towns is?
This guy,
I do.
I do. He's got on a sports podcast, and he doesn't know who Carl Anthony Towns is.
I do.
Wemby is better. You're right. Wemby is a better player. Yeah. That's a funny way of putting
it. I wanted to make it in a more creative way, but Jalen Brunson versus De'Aaron Fox is going to be a way better matchup to watch. So that's why I conclude that is whatever you just said.
I want to hear your thoughts, Grady. I want to go last on this one.
I mean, me personally, I think Brunson and De'Aaron Fox are both going to dominate this series. But I think if Wemby can get out of control, the Spurs might win this series in 5, even sweep the series. I think it's up to Cat to stand up to Wemby in this series and be a force that stops him from dominating whether it goes 4 or 7 games, however long, you cannot let Wemby take over any sort of game. And he very well could do that. But if Karl-Anthony Towns can step up his game and make sure that Wemby isn't able to do it, to the rate that he was doing against the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, I think that gives the Knicks a chance to win. So that's why I think Wemby versus Cat is the bigger matchup.
Okay. So I read this question in the script, and I looked at it and I thought neither of these was nearly the most important matchup for the star player. One, there's 2 matchups. I think I'll go with my second most important one is, can Mitchell come back from injury, and can Mitchell Robinson defend Victor Wembanyama? That's their primary paint defender. If we're being realistic, that's his job. Can Mitchell Robinson stand in the paint and guard Victor Wembanyama? I don't know if he can with a broken, it was metatarsal. It's supposed to be this bone right in your hand. That's your whole hand, basically. I don't know if he can guard him. And if he can, that's going to be huge for them. But I do think the most important matchup is, can Stephon Castle guard Jalen Brunson like he was guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Because if he can, they're going to win the series. Point blank. I don't care about if De'Aaron Fox can score this, that, or the other. If Jalen Brunson is being locked up by Stephon Castle and he's not fouling out of games, the Spurs are going to win the series. That's how I feel about it. The Spurs are going to win the series.
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument. And that kind of leads me into my final question for the Knicks here. Assuming that the Knicks win the NBA Finals, that's a big assumption, and Jalen Brunson were not to win Finals MVP, who would it be? My answer kind of already stems from a point that I made earlier, so I'm just going to go ahead and quickly jump into it. I think it would be Karl-Anthony Towns would be the MVP if it's not Brunson, just because I think he will be the one to step up and stop Wemby should it come to that. So my answer to that question will be Karl-Anthony Towns. Colin?
I put OG Anunoby. I think he's their best defender, and I think he's one of their best shooters. If you're really focused on Jalen Brunson and Victor Wembanyama is roaming the paint, you're going to need a guy like OG to step up and shoot the ball well, and he's going to do that. We also saw Jalen Williams being forced to come down and guard Wemby in the Western Conference Finals as a 4-guard. That's OG Anunoby. Is he going to be able to make those switches? I think he's a much better defender, so I could see it being him. I think it's going to be Brunson if they win, though, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Casey?
Well, I think it's really hard to be Jalen Brunson in this MVP finalist MVP race, but to go with someone different, I think I'll go with Josh Hart.
I don't hate that.
I think he's just seen less from much of the others. We've been talking about everyone else in this segment, so shout out to Josh Hart for MVP.
We saw what Jared McCain was doing.
This is true. That's not
Before we move from the Spurs, I want to say one thing about them. Before we move on from the NBA, one thing I want to say about them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Julian Champagnie, I believe is his name. He's the 3rd ever player to have 6 threes in a Game 7. It's Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Julian Champagnie. So do
Are
it.
You serious? I had not heard that stat. That's insane.
That's great.
Do with that information what you will.
We're not totally done with the NBA yet, but we have discussed it quite a bit. So I'm just going to ask really quickly, this series, who do we think is going to win and in how many games? Casey, go ahead and kick us off.
I'm going to go with the Spurs, and they're going to win 5.
Spurs in 5. Colin?
I wrote down that cracked me up because it's the exact same way it went in 1999, but I'm going to Spurs in 6.
And I think I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I want to see the Knicks get it done. I don't know how much I believe it, but I'm going to pretend to believe it. We're going
in my
Knicks
backyard to start growing money, but here we are.
Knicks in 7. That's my final prediction for this NBA Finals. All right. Let's go ahead and move on now a little bit sooner than the NBA Finals. We're going to kick it over to the ice now, where the Carolina Hurricanes will host the Vegas Golden Knights for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. For the Carolina Hurricanes, it is their first Cup Finals appearance since 2006 when they beat the Edmonton Oilers in 7, with Cam Ward earning the Conn Smythe Trophy in his rookie season. Obviously, Cam Ward would go on to have an incredible career with the Carolina Hurricanes, so not too much of a surprise there. The Golden Knights, this is their third Cup Finals appearance in 9 years of existence, which is pretty remarkable. It's their first appearance since 2023 when they beat the Florida Panthers in 5 games, with Jonathan Marchessault, the now Nashville Predator, earning the Conn Smythe Trophy. So my first point of debate here that I want to bring up is, could the Carolina Hurricanes be on the most dominant Stanley Cup playoff run in history? And if they are, in how many games do they need to win this series to cement that legacy? Does anyone want to take this question head on?
I said yes.
You think so?
Yes, they could be, and they would have to win in 5. My thinking being, if they win in 5, they've lost 1 game at most in every series, and it would finish them at 16-2 in the playoffs. Absurd.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. I also wrote down that I think they would have to do it in 5 to be the most dominant ever. There were some remarkably dominant Islanders teams in the 80s and such, and Oilers teams. But yeah, I think if they can do it in 5, they are firmly the most dominant run in Stanley Cup playoff history. Maybe even in 6, you can make that argument. But yeah, I think it's truly incredible how they shut down, an enforcer heavy team in the Senators, and then the Flyers really had no chance from the start. And then, the Habs looked like they might have had a chance in game 1, and then the Carolina Hurricanes said absolutely not, turned it right back around. So I think if the Canes can get it done in 5, it'll be the most dominant ever. Casey, do you have any thoughts?
I'm going to go with they'll win in 6 on this one, because I think the Eastern Conference. Oh.
It was, do you think they could be the most dominant Stanley Cup run ever, and how many games would they have to win in?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But I think they can win it in 6, not 5.
So you think if they win it in 6, they'll be the most dominant team in Stanley Cup history?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think the Vegas team is too weak for it to be 6. 6 makes me feel like they could have lost. In 5, I don't feel like they could have lost.
So you said Vegas team is too weak? We'll go back to that.
For them to go 6, I'm saying to be the most dominant team of all time.
To be the most dominant team.
I'm saying if they beat them in 6, I feel like they could have lost to Vegas. And to me, the most dominant team of all time, I don't want to feel like they could have lost the series really at any point. And I haven't felt that way with them. I've never felt like they could be eliminated yet. Game 1 was the only game they lost. It was a big punch in the mouth, but they dominated after that.
That is very, very true. So, continuing this Hurricanes winning the Cup potentially talk, my next question is going to be, if the Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup Finals this year, who will be the Conn Smythe Trophy winner? Casey, do you have a take here?
I think it's going to go down to the goalies, and with my pick, I'm going to go with, I'm bad with names, but we're going to go with Anderson.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's really going to be a low-scoring game, throughout the series. So I think if it's anyone that's going to win the Conn Smythe winner, it's going to be Anderson.
Yeah, Colin?
Yeah, I put Anderson as well. Here was my thinking behind it. Right now, he's at 1.41 goals against per game. That's insane. The next goalie in the playoffs is at 2, I think, is the next lowest. He's saving 93% of the shots he's seeing. Also insane. That's crazy numbers to be having in the playoffs. You're playing top tier competition. You don't get games against the Blues in the playoffs. All right, you're facing good teams every night. And then the last thing I wrote down is, since we're saying if they won, he's gonna finish the playoffs if they win at 16 and at worst 16-4. He has a chance to end at 16-1. That's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think Freddie Anderson is a very good take here. I'm going to go a little bit different. The former number 1 overall pick, Hart Trophy winner, turned, career kind of left out for dust. Taylor Hall has had a resurgence in this playoffs for the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hall, Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven line might be the best playoff line that we've seen in quite some time. And Taylor Hall sitting now with 5 goals, 11 assists, making 16 points in the playoffs is just really impressive, especially considering the Hurricanes haven't had to put up a lot of point scoring to win their games and their series. I think Taylor Hall has looked like the most experienced and dominant forward on the ice for them. And I think he has really subtly carried them to this point.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. All right. And then final question about the Hurricanes. How does the Carolina defense possibly shut down the elite Vegas scoring threats? I'm talking about a first line for Vegas of Barbashev, Jack Eichel, Pavel Dorofeev, a second line of Brett Howden, William Karlsson, Mitch Marner. I mean, these players have been unbelievable. You can't forget Mark Stone on the third line. What can Carolina possibly do defensively to stop this offense that's absolutely humming right now?
So I don't know if there's anything that like you can necessarily do. My initial thought was, maybe just try to be more physical. But then I thought, and I was, what's the best way to stop the opponent from scoring? Don't commit penalties. They need to play a clean game. If they can keep that line off the power play, I think that's their best bet. I think they have the best goalie in the league at this very moment. Maybe not actually, but the way he's playing right now, he's playing like possibly the best goalie in the league. Don't put him at a disadvantage.
Maybe the guy on the other side, but
yeah, exactly. But so yeah, sure. It's the same for both sides, I think. Don't put your goalie in a position to fail. Let him defend 5. Let him see shots on 5-on-5. They're both going to get their shots. They're both good teams, but don't put him in a position where he's got to face 5, 6, 7 shots in a 2-minute span. Don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we've seen Jacob Slavin and Keandre Miller maybe be 2 of the best defensive-minded defensemen in the NHL over this playoffs. I mean, you can't forget about Chatfield. And I think really it's going to come down to those guys who maybe are deserving of one of them between Slavin and Miller of the Conn Smythe. By the time it's all said and done, they probably won't get it because they're not going to have the stats to say so because they're so defensively minded. But I think they alone can shut down these powerful lines that Vegas is putting out there right now. And I think that they're going to be the key to keeping the Golden Knights off the score sheet. All right. So moving on, let's go ahead and look over at the Golden Knights side of this. As I mentioned, third Cup Finals. Yeah, boo. Third Cup Finals appearance in their 9 years of existence. So my first question is going to be, how did the replacement of Bruce Cassidy with John Tortorella with only 8 games left to go in the regular season so dramatically turn around the Golden Knights season?
So we talked about it earlier today, that we have disagreements on how playoff formats really measure how good a team is. Yeah. If this is the Golden Knights that we had seen all year, I think we'd be having different conversations about this team throughout the playoffs. I don't think it would be as surprising that they made it here. And I don't think this is the same team that we saw all regular season. I don't know what he's saying in that locker room, but
it's got to be unbelievable.
He has them moving completely different than they were moving in the regular season. I mean, they flipped a switch. That's all there is to say. Whatever he is doing, he has them playing winning hockey. He has them playing together, and he has them playing hard. And right now, I think that's really all you can ask for. He's making the right decisions. The players are paying it off for him. I mean, even if it's just a fluke, great time to have a fluke.
Yeah, I mean, look, they were sitting in third in the Pacific when Tortorella was hired. They passed the Oilers, they passed the Ducks. The Ducks was kind of their own doing, but it didn't end up mattering because they beat the Ducks in the second round anyways. They dominated the Mammoth after, the Mammoth went up 2-1. They dominated the Ducks. They completely dismembered the Avs. It was unbelievable that the Avs barely looked like the team they looked like all season.
I thought the Avs were going to win the Cup.
I thought the Avs were going to win the Cup too. I thought it was, the most surefire President's Trophy.
Cut and dry. I thought Vegas stood a chance.
Yeah, I mean, they looked like the best President's Trophy winner, you know, in comparison to their competition and in such a long time. And, you know, Vegas came out there and absolutely dominated. Carter Hart is moving different right now.
He
It's
could
really,
be the best goalie. Those two guys are the most
I
deserving.
mean, Carter
goalies
Hart
of
is
being
sitting at
there.
around 950, I think, on the save percentage, which is, you know,
Yeah,
unreal.
30.
Casey, you have any thoughts on the Golden Knights?
Bottom line, I know they're going to win it all.
Is that right?
That's your take?
With no background knowledge, yeah, they're gonna win it all.
Would that be their second? Third? Second or third?
If they win, it'll be their second.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they lost to the Capitals in 2018. They beat the Panthers in 2023, and then this will be third in 2026.
My steak too juicy.
Yeah, right. All right, so a little bit of a footnotes question, and you know, I'm the biggest hockey guy on this show, so I can just answer my own question if neither one of you want to take this one. But I want to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs real quick. If Vegas wins this cup, what sort of reflection is required of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Is it time to go full rebuild? Is it time to ship off Austin Matthews? Is it time to ship off William Nylander? Anyone want to take that one?
No, it's not time. It's not time.
No, it's not? All right. Why is that?
Look, you're never going to stop being the Leafs, right? So whatever demons are there that need to be exercised, they're not going anywhere. So if I know that I have to have those demons and I have to live with that, I'd rather have them with Austin Matthews and Gavin McKenna than without them.
Right.
Like that's just it.
So you'd rather hang on to Austin Matthews, not get the massive return that they get for it, and build around him and Gavin McKenna on the same line. That's the direction you'd head.
I mean, I don't know how big a haul for Austin Matthews is necessarily going to be, and that could be because I'm naive to the situation. But from my understanding, I don't know if it'd be picks or if it'd be players. I don't know exactly what you're looking at. But with the way the NHL lottery seems to be going year after year, I wouldn't even want the picks. I mean, the Leafs are picking first after just being in like the 10th odds or something ridiculous. So who cares if I get the pick from the Blues? They're never picking first anyway, apparently.
This is true. And, you know, look, in the past 10 years, the Maple Leafs have made the playoffs 8 times. And the 2 years they missed, they won the draft lottery. They got Austin Matthews in 2016. Now they're going to get Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg, potentially the first overall pick, depending on who they take. They should take McKenna, but, you know, we'll see. It's always the Leafs. Regardless, I do think that the Leafs need to continue to, you know, build on what they have here. You have a generational centerman in Austin Matthews. I think Gavin McKenna showed so much promise at Penn State, and he's only going to improve with the Leafs. So, yeah, I think, you know, it's kind of a big question, just considering Marner might win a cup as soon as he leaves Toronto. But I think, you know, the Maple Leafs need to... You're
looking at the makings of potentially the best line in hockey if those two guys are together and they can stay... If Matthews can stay peaking when McKenna gets to his peak, you're looking at something terrifying.
It's very true. That is very, very true. All right, let's go ahead and move on to my final question for the Golden Knights. Should the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup, who is going to be the Conn Smythe winner for them? Casey, do you have an answer here?
Of course I do. And the answer is, Grady, when the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup Final, the Conn Smythe winner is going to go to Carter Hart. The the goalie, because it's going to be very tough to stop all the goals from this historic Canes team, and I think he's going to be able to do it. And
yeah. I mean, he'll need a defense, you know, as good as his one in Alberta. But yeah, Colin, thoughts on Conn Smythe winner?
Mitch Marner. You got to put the puck in the net to win. No one's been able to put the puck in the net against Anderson. Mitch Marner's been the best on the Knights at putting the puck in the net. So if they're going to win, that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and not even just putting the puck in the net. I think it's creating scoring chances. You know, Dorofeev has been surefire in putting the puck in the back of
Oh
the
yeah,
net, but I think
when Mitch Marner touches the puck for the Vegas Golden
someone
Knights,
will score.
someone puts it in the back of the net.
Right. It doesn't have to necessarily be him. He's setting up all the chances. He leads the team in assists in the playoffs. Yeah, I think the surefire answer is Mitch Marner. Obviously, you have the cloud of the, just general Carter Hart situation that I don't think the voters will give him the Conn Smythe, even if he is deserving of it. So for that reason, I think it's going to be Mitch Marner if the Golden Knights win. So to finish this off, you say when one more time. Stanley Cup Finals series predictions. Casey, since you seem so confident in your Vegas Golden Knights, apparently, how many games do you think it's going to take for them to win this series?
Right now, you know what? I was gonna say in 6, but we're gonna go with Knights in 5.
All right, that is Knights in 5. Colin.
It's the Hurricanes in 5. I said it before. It's what they need to be the most dominant team in NHL Stanley Cup playoff history. So enjoy it while it lasts because it's going to go by quick, and it's one of the best teams you're going to have seen in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Golden Knights are, I think they're as good as advertised. I don't think it's going to be necessarily as easy for the Hurricanes as some people might think. The top 2 lines are absolutely buzzing right now. Carter Hart is seemingly an impenetrable wall on some nights. So I think the Golden Knights are definitely going to give the Hurricanes a run for their money. With that being said, the Carolina Hurricanes have been after this for all 8 years under Rod Brind'Amour. They are an experienced playoff team. They've been working towards this goal, and I think now that they finally have their moment in the sun, they are not going to let it go away. And I think for that reason, the Hurricanes will win in 7 games.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. That is our NHL discussion for the day. We are right in the thick of it, in the middle of the MLB season. Starting June, we're about a month and a half out from the All-Star break. So we're right in the middle of the MLB season. As 2 Rays fans, I'm having a great time right now. We have a Dodgers fan on this podcast too, who's also having a great time.
They're never
very different
time.
Never having a bad time.
Unless you lose to the Rockies.
Well, that's baseball. Anyways, we are going to discuss today. Earlier this week, the MLB had a collective bargaining agreement proposal. So according to ESPN, the MLB initial proposal is a salary cap system, which would set a hard ceiling at $245.3 million and a hard floor at $171.2 million. The proposal also calls for a 50-50 revenue split and the centralization of television revenue. So my question for you guys is...
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The players also have a proposal, and their proposal is $150 million floor and no salary cap. So that's the other side of that.
That's the other side. Right. So obviously both of those proposals include a salary floor. Only one of them has a salary ceiling. So I think the MLB proposed resolution is a little bit more dramatic to the MLB that we've seen in the past, obviously. So what do we think are the potential benefits and drawbacks of implementing said drastic changes to the collective bargaining agreement? Colin?
Well, I think pretty point blank, the main benefit is a 50-50 revenue share. That's great for a lot of teams that aren't making as much money. But overall, it all comes down to competitive balance, and this would bring a lot of competitive balance to the league, at least you would hope. Right now, there are 12 teams, I believe, that fall below that $171 million threshold and 8 teams that are above the $245 million threshold. So that's 20 of the 30 teams that aren't compliant with where we are right now. So we're really bringing the league all together and making it a lot more competitive. So I think that's the pro. I'll let you guys talk about what some of your pros are.
Casey, got a pro? A setback?
I'll just take a quick drawback on this situation.
You would have a drawback.
That is the difference of perspective here.
I won't talk about Kyle Tucker right now, but yeah. So as a Dodgers fan, I don't think that hard ceiling at $245 million, you said, would be great for the team, and not just the Dodgers, but the 8 teams that you're talking about. Colin.
Be good for the Mets.
Oh, it would be really great for the Mets.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they're spending less money right now.
I think you just pay the players that are winning, and yeah.
I just want to go back. I don't exactly see how that's a drawback. You just stated a fact.
Yeah, what's the negative, Casey? You can't have all the good players now.
My bad.
You just said it's a 245 million ceiling and just stopped.
Yeah. Well, how what's the total amount of money the Dodgers are paying all their players?
I think it's like 400 million or something, like
Yeah,
400.
Exactly. And then what? We cut it to 245 million, and then
so the way I've seen it now is that they're talking about potentially scaling it up, or scaling it in to like phase it in, so it's not as like, each year you kind of have to like get more and more compliant until it phases in. And I've also seen, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the NBA bird rights. They're talking about maybe doing something like that. So if you have a prospect or something and they get, eligible for this mega deal, you don't have to just let them go. They came up through your farm, so you can go over the cap to sign that kind of player, which I think is fair. I do like that.
Yeah, I think, obviously you need to slowly ease this kind of, harsh implementation in on these teams, because it's not something they can do overnight with the money that they've been handing out, especially the Dodgers or the Mets. And I think that is the clear drawback for the team. I think a drawback, especially for the players, is you're not going to see, the Sotos or the Otanis being able to make the immense amount of money that they're making right now. You look at the NFL or the NBA, and these players make an unbelievable amount of money, but there is a cap to the amount of money that they can make, just considering what the team has to do to, field a competitive roster. You can't just pay Patrick Mahomes, the salary cap and have no one else on the field. You have to, divide up your salary cap. And that's what these teams are going to have to do. It doesn't hurt the teams as much as the players. Obviously, you have teams who are willing to spend the money now, and they won't be able to as much. But at the end of the day, the players are the ones who are earning less money for playing in the MLB. So I think that is the potential drawback.
So I actually had more drawbacks for this than I had pros. My pros were competitive balance. That's ideal. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote down a few of the things I'm worried about.
Yeah,
one, as like a Rays fan, right? Specifically, the Rays have one of the lowest payrolls in the league, and we have the second best record in the league right now, I think, something like that. If we have to spend 170 million, does that mean that they're going to, our team's just going to start signing guys for the sake of hitting 170 million? Are we just going to start inflating people's contracts? Yeah. I think that's horrible. I don't want to have Gavin Lux for $50 million next year, because
that's a great point.
There's no one else to sign on the team.
Right. You see the money that they paid Cedric Mullins, that, triples, quadruples this offseason if
we have to hit up
this offseason. Right, exactly.
Yeah, if we have to get to 170, there's only so many extensions we could sign. We could sign Junior, we could sign Yandy. But once we start signing those guys, we're burning through our money that we could be using to get new players.
Right.
So it's what are we doing? And also,
so why would my bad.
I think not having a salary cap is the crowning achievement of the MLB Players Association. I just don't see them wanting to give that up.
And that really leads me into this, final question, because I think this is, the ultimate hanging, feeling by a lot of fans. If this collective bargaining agreement moves forward, if the MLB is unwilling to move, if the players are unwilling to move, how likely are we to see a lockout in 2027 under these proposals? Will there be baseball played in 2027 if no one's able to, move the needle on what they do or don't want?
The way it's looking right now, there won't be baseball in 2027. Based on where they're at right now. What both sides have said is they're not close. I hope when winter meetings start in December, that's not the case. They can't negotiate until then, so we just get to all enjoy the season, enjoy baseball being at its most popular that it's been at in years, with the looming we could go into lockout incoming. But I think it could be really good. My worry is it's not broke. Do you need to fix it? But I said that a lot about a lot of other MLB stuff, and it's been great. I like the pitch clock. I like a lot of the stuff they've added in the last few years, and I didn't think that stuff was broke. They fixed it. It's better now. It's even better. Baseball is getting more popular. So it's not broke. Do they need to fix it? I don't know, but I really hope we have baseball in 2027 because I think it could set the sport back a long time if we don't.
Yeah, my concern there is obviously the pitch clock and such things have been, improvements to the MLB, but you're talking about messing with the business practices of MLB front offices as opposed to the game on the field now, which I think is an entirely different undertaking for the MLB and the Players Association.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Casey, any thoughts? You think we're seeing baseball in 2027?
I don't think we're going to see baseball in 2027, just like what Colin was talking about. And we all love baseball here, but I don't think like the rest of America is at the height we are, and it's actually really sad to see. So yeah, that's my take on it.
My worry is that it's actually getting more popular now, and they're gonna nuke
the
it.
Numbers, especially playoff viewership numbers, are going up every year now. So
yeah,
I think they're really going to set themselves back here because I'm in agreement with you guys. If we see players take the field in 2027, I'm going to be shocked. I don't think
numbers are up right now, and this is the worst time of the year for the MLB because Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. There's a reason this is the last thing on the docket.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think if they're unable to find a resolution, which I think is likely, the players are worried about their rights. The MLB wants to see a more competitive game balance. Probably not seeing baseball in 2027. So, at least there's still 3 sports to talk about.
We can start talking about the MLS.
That's right. MLS, college football, college basketball, put everything on here. Any other thoughts about the MLB collective bargaining proposal?
No. Fingers crossed is all I got for it.
Fingers crossed. That's about it. All right. With that being said, thank you all so much for joining us for the inaugural episode of the 300 Section Sports Podcast. I'm very excited to do this. I think the two of you are very excited to do this. I think it's going to be,
excited.
I think it's going to be a pretty fun adventure for all 3 of us. And as I mentioned before, we're planning on weekly episodes for the podcast on this YouTube channel. You will also be able to find us on Instagram, also at 300 Section Sports Podcast. That account is not made yet, but it will be made soon. It might even be made by the time this video is uploaded. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching yet again. Please like, please subscribe, please share because we want to grow this channel. And thank you all for watching again. See you later.